Now, I want to be clear. My administration understands that if we were to ever experience unchecked inflation over the long term, that would pose a real challenge to our economy.
I hope all of you guys are having a great day so far. Now this is your fourth stimulus check update and daily news report. Folks, we have a ton of great news to cover surrounding the fourth stimulus check update, surrounding the fourth stimulus checks, your social security benefits, as well as the recent child tax credit. So everybody, be sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. On this channel, I always do my very best in providing you with the most up-to-date and reliable stimulus check information. So everybody, be sure to subscribe. Folks, according to Fox Business, since the year 2000, Social Security benefits have lost roughly 30% of their purchasing power due to inadequate adjustments that underestimate inflation and rising healthcare costs. That's according to the Senior Citizens League. The group has pushed Congress to adopt legislation that would index the adjustment to inflation specifically for our seniors, such as the Consumer Price Index for the elderly or the CPIE. That index specifically tracks the spending of households with people aged 62 and older. On the campaign trail, President Biden did say he supported shoring up Social Security solvency by tethering the annual adjustment to the CPIE rather than the CPIW. So everybody, are you in support of President Biden raising his Social Security benefits by $200 a month? After all, he did promise us that he would take care of our seniors. If you guys agree with the push for more Social Security payments, then leave a comment down below saying, I agree. Now,
Lumber prices are another example. They spiked early in our recovery, but in recent weeks they began to fall. They've fallen by more than 50%. In the hospitality industry, prices are returning to where they used to be. Economists call all these things transitory effects, and they account for about 60% of the price increases we've seen over the last few months.
Following the success of the first three stimulus checks that were sent out to Americans, there have been repeated calls for a fourth one to be launched and sent out to low-income and medium-income households. There has actually been a petition with over 3 million signatures, and various politicians have also urged President Biden to consider working with the IRS for a fourth stimulus check. President Biden has repeatedly said that he is open to ideas and that he will listen to whatever Congress comes up with, which is really great. Many Americans agree that everything is not fine and that there is still a need for a fourth stimulus check. Now, if Congress folks were to propose another round of stimulus spending, this would undoubtedly become a priority for all branches of government, and it could be passed in a couple of weeks. So, I just hope that our politicians in Congress, the Democrats and the Republicans, step up to the plate and help out the American people. They must realize that the great American people are still in need of financial assistance. If you guys agree with me, then let's get this video to 1,000 likes. It has been reported that White House staff have been given a presentation on automatic stabilizers or recurring payments should economic conditions worsen, with centrist Democrats along with their Republican colleagues. Joe Biden's full backing would be needed to keep the party in line. Looking back at past negotiations that resulted in stimulus checks being sent out to Americans, the urgency of the situation was the most determining factor in how long it took. Congress and the White House acted swiftly to get the first round of stimulus checks passed with little resistance. The direct payment of up to $1,200 per adult began landing in bank accounts just a matter of weeks after the official start of the crisis. Although calls for more stimulus checks began almost immediately, Congress didn't do anything until the summer, and those negotiations dragged out. The three-way negotiations between the White House, Democrats, and Republicans seems to go on in endless circles. Only when lawmakers' feet were set to the fire, with the government shutdown looming, was there any meaningful momentum to get the job done. The third stimulus check became part of the post-presidential campaign for control of the Senate. The $600 per adult and child was blasted by the former president as too little. The Democrats and some Republicans ran with the ball, which in part helped push the two Democratic candidates in runoff races for the Senate over the finish line. Folks, were you happy with the third stimulus check? Do you believe they did enough to help out American people like you and I? Leave a comment down below saying yes or no. Folks, President Biden made a promise to act quickly, but as well the clock was ticking toward a hard deadline on March 14th. But folks, congressional Democrats didn't want to wait for the GOP colleagues to come on board, using a parliamentary tool known as budget reconciliation, allowing them to avoid a certain filibuster and pass the American Rescue Plan along party lines. Not a single Republican joined the Democrats. Congress will also be considering, before the end of the year, the White House's budget for 2022, and Biden's American Families Plan. The latter would include an extension of the 2021 child tax credit, which will begin sending direct payments to eligible parents for each of their children starting July 15th. As always, everybody, that is all the news in this video. If you guys found this video useful and helpful, then do not forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. As always, everybody, have a great day and stay safe.
Runaway costs and surging inflation are a huge worry for middle-class families. Every survey confirms it. Every conversation confirms it. Over the last 12 months during this economic recovery, the average American worker earned a 3.6% raise. But inflation has risen so steeply that it's turned that into a nearly 2% pay cut. Remember, at the beginning of the year, the Biden administration inherited a historically strong economic trajectory. Thanks to the smart, targeted, bipartisan policies we passed last year, our economy was primed to get millions of Americans back to work with competitive pay while consumers unleashed pent-up demand. But alas, that was before Democrats decided to pour $2 trillion into a long list of liberal pet projects and insist on making it less appealing for workers to actually go back to work. Today, essentials like gas and groceries have gotten more and more expensive. Bigger purchases consumers had put off during the pandemic are getting even further out of reach. Across the country, working families and employers alike are feeling. Now, on an entirely different matter, a few months ago, a group of Democrats and left-wing activists brought the state of Georgia into the national spotlight. Tremendous outrage, an air of total crisis was cooked up out of nowhere. The state of Georgia was passing a mainstream, common sense election law. It combined widely popular integrity protections like voter ID, with a great deal of flexibility and availability to make voting easy. It codified more flexible early voting and more flexible mail-in voting than many Democrat-run states offer. For example, New York. Americans want to make it easier to vote and harder to cheat. Voter ID, for example, is popular with majorities of Black, white, and Hispanic Americans. But in their ongoing bid to mount a Washington, D.C. takeover of our nation's elections, Democrats seized on this mainstream law and decided to start shouting